My name is Patrick and I'm here to introduce to you the Cloud Management Platform, CMP. This project is a distributed system project and has the main goal to simulate the management of a cloud environment. And this data is represented by employee data, and we also have a user account to compare when we try to log in or log out. When we open the project, we have the source main Java, where most of the code is located, and within the resources, you can find the protocol buffers for each service and also the properties for each service as well. For the login service, it's a Unary Streaming API. It means that it is only one request and one response. And here are the messages for each request and response. But we also have one extra message here called user. This user is used to write a username and password database. It's going to be saved within the server and is used to compare when someone tries to log in or log out. It's just to simulate the management of a cloud environment. Within the Cloud Proto, you can see we have two RPC calls, and the first RPC makes use of the Client Streaming API. It means we can send many add requests to add many employees, and we're going to receive only one response. Whereas for the remove operation is a Bi-directional Streaming API, which can make use of a streaming and request many remove requests, and at the very end, when it's done sending requests, you're going to receive many responses as well in a streaming. Each of those protofiles, it generates a code in a package. So for the Cloud Proto, it generates a cloud management package, and for the login, it generates a login CMP, and for the print, it generates a print. These are the stubs generated to allow communication between the server and the client. And here, to make it more organized, I have one package for the services, where you can find out more about each code, and one package for the server, and one package for the client. Within the service implementation, at the very bottom of each of the services, you can find a get properties function, which reads whatever is inside the specified properties and returns a properties value, which specifies the service name, description, port, and that's how a service can be registered within the server. In order to do so, an instance of each service is created at the very beginning of the server, and an instance of the registered services is also created, and it's called through thread methods. This way, it registers all of the three services at the same time, making it 3 times faster. And by using the join, it awaits the termination of all of the 3 registrations, and finally it starts the server. In the room method inside the server, we have a port for each of the servers, and for each server, it only adds one service to make it more organized. And here at the bottom, we have this shutdown hook, which basically every time a shutdown is requested, it's going to be printed and inform the user that it's going to be shut down. A server await termination, it's used in order to keep the server awake, waiting for new requests. So we start the server now. All of the 3 servers, one in each port, is starting. And while that, I'm gonna introduce to you the client. So the server is running, and inside the client, at the very beginning, the first thing it does, it creates an instance of the client CMP, and use the run method to start the client. And what it does, it basically calls the discover service and pass in the service type information in order to request the host and the port numbers from the discover service. Once the server registers all of the 3 services, client can request this discover method inside the discover services to capture and get the host and port numbers and make use of it. In the GUI is where you can find the interface, the graphical interface to the user. And in the main GUI, it starts by making a connection to the channel, all of the 3. And also, instead of creating a channel in the main and also in the cloud management, in order to make it more secure, the cloud management can only access if the main login is started first, because it starts by creating a channel for each, and it also creates a variable for each stubs. So then it returns each stub by a get methods, and finally the cloud can have access to it only if he logins. In the login screen, if I try to log in without saying anything, it tells me that I need to pass in the username and password. If I put a wrong password or a long username, it tells me that is wrong. And if I put the correct one, which is Patrick with Y, and the password is test, it works and jumps to the next screen. If I try to add a new employee without information, it requests me to fulfill everything. If I try to remove, the same methodology validates it. If I click show my database, it calls the print method and is a server streaming, so it shows me all database I have within my employee data. If I click clear, it clears all. If I try to remove a specific employee, I first have to see which employee it is. It validates each of my requests. So if I try to remove a wrong or invalid employee, let's say invalid, it tells me it's not found. But if, let's say, I want to remove and number 5, so let's remove, and the employee list was updated. Now instead of 4, it has 3, and if I show my database again, it shows here. Let's try to add a new employee. Oops. And to represent a client streaming, I can add multiple employees. So I would click yes. So Patrick is being processed, and now I will try on invalid data. So let's say if I put letters instead of numbers, letters instead of numbers, and try to add, and I don't want to add anymore, so I click no. The employee list was updated. Patrick was added successfully, whereas the second one is invalid data, so the attempt was failed. And you can see here 1, 2, 4. So when I show my database, you can see that the employee number is generated automatically, even though it wasn't in the correct order. It realized which number is missing and it fulfills. And if I try to log out without putting information, it doesn't allow me. But if I confirm my username, it comes back to the login page